Do you have any explanation to how existence came about? Has your reason given you as an explanation for existence in the past and right now? Why is there things that exist right now?
Why do you need a creator for you to exist today?
Hello people, this is Socrates Son. Today I am responding to a video called Muslim Checkmates Arrogant Atheists. Okay, please.
I don't think you believe what you're saying, to be honest with you. I don't think you believe what you're saying. Because if you said that, oh, if God, if you exist, let there be lightning, and lightning came about, you just say it's a coincidence. You would.
Listen to what I have no.
That criticism comes from a misrepresented statement by Richard Dawkins. They misrepresent a rational, based on probabilities and empirical evidence, position as stubbornness against evidence. If I call out God to reveal himself with a thunder, and a thunder suddenly happens, the probability is still grossly in favor of this just being a coincidence rather than God just answered my challenge.
What would it take for you to believe in God?
Well, I used to say it would be very simple. It would be, the second coming of Jesus, or a great big, deep, booming bass Paul Robeson voice saying, "I am God and I created." But I was persuaded mostly by actually Steve Zara, who's a regular contributor to my website, richarddawkins.net. He more or less persuaded me that even if there was this booming voice and the second coming in clouds of glory, the more probable explanation is that it's a hallucination or a conjuring trick by David Copperfield or something. He made the point that a supernatural explanation for anything is incoherent, that it just doesn't it doesn't add up to an explanation for anything.
Reasonable to believe equals level of claim plus level of conviction this claim demands divided by the evidence. In this case, because the level of claim of God is very significant and the level of conviction God demands related to his dogma might be very significant. For example, Islam demands a theocratic dictatorship. So before I submit to this apparently immoral political view, you better have some evidence. This is the point of my exegesis. So in this case, let me repeat. Because the level of claim of God is very significant, is a supernatural claim. Okay, the level of conviction religion demands in some cases is very significant. Okay, the evidence cannot be circumstantial. I just saw thunder. Okay, there must be solid evidence. But how this evidence would look like? That's a fair question. And this is where I disagree with Richard Dawkins. He's making a very hard statement. The evidence must have some kind of consistency. Okay. If I challenge God to show me a thunder and it happens once, then okay. But if I keep challenging him and it happens twice, third, fourth time, in other periods of time, he shows some kind of consistency, then yes, that's good evidence, and then I would have believed. Okay, but it has nothing to do with stubbornness. It's just a rational understanding of epistemology, how probabilities work, how the value that certain evidences have different epistemological weight, that certain claims demand have different epistemological demand. So this position is a rational one. It's not stubbornness.
This is why every time you say that there is a miracle in the Quran, a scientific miracle in the Quran, and you say that this is the science and this is the meaning from the Quran, then you've done two things, two assumptions that you've basically assumed. One, that this science is never going to change, and two, that this is the meaning that was intended by Allah, right? This was the meaning intended by Allah.
And that's the only meaning.
And that's the only meaning. Can you prove these two things? Not necessarily, because many of the words describing natural phenomena are not really explained by anything else other than going into the Arabic language itself, which has many layers of meaning. How do you know that is the particular meaning that was intended by Allah?
Sure.
And also, when you look at the science, can you really say this science is a fact and will never change? You can't.
Right, yeah.
You can't, because the beauty of science is that you can have future observations that deny previous
So that
conclusions.
was number one.
So, we saw here Hamza Tzortzis, the intellectual hero of your channel, Dawa-wise, taking this concept in the opposite direction. Now you have strong, consistent, scientific evidence against the Quran, but he will still choose to believe in its truth contrary to the evidence. That is true intellectual stubbornness and a misrepresentation of epistemology. That is an overstatement of the truth-bearing ability of dogma that, according to your hero, Hamza Tzortzis, is above the investigative ability of science, which is simply wrong. Okay. In Islam, unconditional submission or Islam and blind faith or Iman have overstated moral value. So you overstate the moral value of Islam and Iman. Okay. And that leads to a false understanding of epistemology. So, my young man, what did I just do? I took your criticism against atheists. I saw, in fact, atheists have a very rational position based on epistemology, based on probabilities and how epistemology works. They are not stubborn against evidence. And then what I did, I've shown that you are in fact stubborn against evidence because of Islam. Okay, my young man, please go to your next statement now. Your next challenge, whatever.
Reason, I believe in philosophy.
Reason is my friend.
I believe in reason. I believe
friend.
in reason itself.
Yeah, I get that. That's fine. But you realize
Is that not okay?
no. I mean, you could use reason. I don't know why you would believe in reason. Or you could
Why
use
can't
it.
you believe in reason?
Yeah, you could believe in reason
That's
as
what I do
a
believe
good
in.
tool, to get to some rational conclusions. Okay, can you?
all the conclusions that I
Does reason give you ultimate, ability to know every single thing?
It can give me enough fulfillment in life to want to know everything and to pursue my life in the knowledge of everything.
Okay, good. Okay, fantastic. So you like reason,
Yes.
right? Okay, fantastic. Do you have any explanation to how existence came about?
Not really.
Cool. So why haven't you used your reason to come to that conclusion?
We have priori evidences and posteriori evidences, or as I call them, logical and empirical. With the word empirical, I include all evidences we gain from our experience from the outside world. Empirical comes from a Greek word, empiria. So empiria, experience, includes everything, our experience with the outside world. Logic alone, without empiricism, might be inefficient. And it usually is inefficient. Unless we are talking about logical absolutes, or the fact that I think, therefore I am, I exist. If we exclude this type of evidences that logic alone is sufficient, For everything else, logic alone is inefficient for truth. Okay, the same way, empiricism without basic logic to connect the dots is again inefficient. The implication of all these questions is that atheists subscribe to scientism. What is scientism? Is an overstatement of the truth-bearing ability of science and an understatement of the truth-bearing ability of other evidences, like logic or intuition or this kind of things. Although that might be the case for some atheists, the Muslim community has a bigger problem in epistemology that derives from the Islamic value system and therefore systemic. Let me repeat that. That derives from the Islamic value system and therefore systemic. In contrast, the atheist problem is occasional and individual. So in one case, we have some atheists subscribe to scientism, which is occasional and individual, nothing to do with atheism. In the other case, my dear friend, you have a systemic problem that derives from basic Islamic value system, how you value things. Okay, so that is the problem. Okay, let's go to your other point.
Because I don't know.
Okay, but why, you told me reason is enough to know everything there is to know.
I said I'm atheist agnostic. Why does a question about existence, about what happened 14 billion years ago, why should that
We're talking about now. Why is there existence now?
Why should that dictate the way I live now? What happened 14 billion years ago, why is that connected to now?
Wait, why are we jumping places? All I asked you was, if reason is so good, why haven't you used it to get an answer? My friend, a question. Why have you not used your reason? I didn't say God, I didn't say anything, so I don't know why you keep telling me atheist agnostic. What has your reason given you as an explanation for existence in the past and right now? Why is there things that exist right now?
The question is, what is the most effective way to truth? And the answer is, science is number one, because it's a rigorous methodological investigation of reality. And what is truth? What corresponds to reality? So science is number one. Logic is number two. Some might disagree with that, because without basic logic we cannot do science, and the other way around. So we have reasonal evidence and empirical evidence. That is the whole of evidences. Then under the empirical evidence, we have intuition. Okay, we have dogma. What is the problem of dogma? You claim that we first need to submit our mind and soul to Islam, and then that means that we know the truth. That is totally stupid. Okay, because what is the problem with dogma? Dogma, guys, sorry, I'm very cold. One moment, please. Okay, so what is the problem with dogma, my young friend? Dogma is you accepting a set of ideas, not according to individual merit. So just because you are a Muslim, you are accepting all these ideas you haven't really investigated. having faith and that these ideas are true because what? There is no real, you don't have, dogma doesn't have epistemological value at all. It's, especially in Islam, is blind faith. So you might as well investigate the world and believe in Islam, or you might as well scratch your balls and believe in Islam. It's the same thing.
It needs to be demonstrated. Well, I need to find out who you are, because I don't know where your cloud is. Maybe you need a rational argument. Maybe you need a good hug. Maybe you need some love. Maybe you need some really strong Quranic verses to wake you up, because the reason for your disbelief is arrogance, right? Because the reason for your disbelief is arrogance, right?
Islam has the epistemological value of scratching your balls. So, when you imply that just because we don't know everything, which is not the fault of science or logic, is the fault of our human limitations. So when you say that just because we don't know everything, therefore we must submit to Islam, that is a huge logical blunder. Especially when we see that Islam doesn't make sense in morality. It describes the world in a superstitious way, a silly superstitious way, exactly as expected from 7th century Arabs. Okay, so guys, okay, so that will be the part 1 of, and then I will do a part 2 where I respond to the other claims. Thank you very much.